What's it take for man to become worthy? Would the strength of 30 men do it? What if he was the strongest of everyone? Is that enough? Little boys ask questions like that. I'm going to tell you about a man who had the strength of 30 men. And yet when he started out, his own countrymen thought he was a worthless guy. They thought he couldn't live up to the expectations of his culture. He lived in a king's house, but he was seen as a bit of a do-nothing, as a bit of an ne'er-do-well. And that was his own testimony. That wasn't the opinion of others. The guy's name was Beowulf. And if you're not familiar with the story, it's 1,000 years old, and we've been telling it and retelling it for a long time. The actual story is probably older than that, but the oldest written copy we have is about 1,000 years old, from a Christian monk, and he's writing about a pagan hero. Now, Beowulf wasn't famous when he started out. He hadn't really developed a good reputation. All he was known for, according to the poem, was losing a swimming race. But he hears about a king with a problem, a king in a distant land across the ocean, Hrothgar. Now, Hrothgar's problem is that for the last 12 years, his kingdom has been under assault. He has a beautiful and glorious mead hall where his warriors come and he showers them with gifts after the battle. And they've conquered. They have peace. But for 12 years, because of that peace, because of their celebrations, a demon ogre monster called Grendel comes every night and slaughters whoever's there. Beowulf hears about this. He grabs a bunch of guys. He travels across the ocean. And he shows up and says, "I'll fight your monster. I'm seen as worthless in my own country, and I want to earn my way, to be found worthy. So I'll fight your monster. Even if I die in the attempt, I'll do it." Obviously, we wouldn't be talking about him if he didn't succeed. And he succeeds because of his strength. Other guys had tried swords. Swords wouldn't hurt the monster Grendel. Axes, spears, nothing could damage his thick hide. But Beowulf walks in with a fist as strong as 30 men, goes to sleep at night, forsakes his weaponry, forsakes his armor, and by himself grabs the monster and in a wrestling match tears his arm off as the creature flees. Top that off, Beowulf kills Grendel's mother the next day after she comes to take her revenge. The story jumps forward a ways, and he eventually fights a dragon that has invaded his own land and has been woken up by a thief. Beowulf, by that time, has become a good and noble king, not just a ne'er-do-well. He has ascended to the throne because he proved himself worthy. I've been thinking about this a long time. I reread the poem, although I read Tolkien's version, the guy who wrote Lord of the Rings. I reread his version. He translated it, but he translated it into more of a narrative poem in order to make it more accessible for us, which I think was nice. It was nice of him to do. It was helpful. But he's the one who pointed out this subtle line where Beowulf basically calls himself a ne'er-do-well, someone who is not seen as a faithful and good warrior in his own culture, in his own kingdom. And so he has come to prove himself. And I want to focus on that. I want to focus on what that means. Because I think it's something we're looking for today. I think it's something that calls to all of us. And it's something that defines heroism in the way we decide and define it in the West. Beowulf didn't have to go. He didn't have to cross the ocean. He didn't have to gather men. He didn't have to risk his life in order to fight this monster. And a lot of times people will read the poem and see this arrogant man who thinks he can be the one who can defeat this monster that has killed for 12 years straight, daily. But that is not what he expresses. Yes, he expresses a desire to prove himself worthy, and he acknowledges that killing a monster is a pretty great way to get glory. That's just the honest truth of it. Heck, if there was a monster targeting any of our cities and somebody walked in and destroyed it, we would give them honor and glory. That's an honorable, noble thing to do. But what does that say about what we value? If we think about it, Beowulf went away in order to serve someone else. He put his own life on the line to help a king that he had no allegiance to and had no allegiance back to him. He offered sacrifice. He sacrificed for another, which is why I think this became a Christian poem. I think it is a Christian idea. True masculinity isn't about macho. It's not. Yes, it has strength, but sacrifice is part of it. It's in the Old Testament and the New Testament. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your mind and all your strength. And love your neighbor as yourself. Even though Heorot wasn't exactly next door and Hrothgar was not his specific neighbor, he saw a country in need, he saw a people in need, and this man acted. He decided to do something about it rather than just sit around and talk. He decided to face danger with courage in order to help someone else. And yeah, there was the expectation that it would gain him some reputation and that it might gain him some gold. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's because that was their culture. You win in battle, the king gives you gold. We've got ways we can look at that as men today. As a Christian, as a father, as a writer, Beowulf's story just spoke to me about sacrifice, about honor, about being willing to serve. And how we're not going to be able to defeat the dragons in the end unless we step up to the first thing that's scary. It's part of what this is, part of what this channel is, part of what me walking and writing and talking out loud is. Facing my own weakness and my own fear so that I can get stronger. So that while my hands won't be miraculously strong, I can slay the literary dragons. I can get the words out on the page, and the blank page is no longer a fear to me. We're not going to fight literal monsters anymore. That's well, not that I can see anyway. Sometimes we might fight spiritual ones. Sometimes we might fight emotional ones. We might fight relational ones. But that takes just as much courage in a lot of ways. It may not take as much strength of physical strength, but emotional strength, courage, fortitude, it does take those things. And that is why I think we still talk about Beowulf. We still talk about this hero who 1,000+ years ago, probably in the 600s or 700s AD, went across the sea to fight a monster in a kingdom that wasn't his. Because it has echoes of truth. It has echoes of the gospel, of the king who came down from heaven to fight a monster that he didn't create for a people who didn't think much of him, and who did it for a glory that was set before him. That is heroism. And think about it. Compare it to the modern superhero movies we see. Sure, the the modern guys who are just like, they're just cool. They're morally gray. They're anti-heroes. They're snarky and mean. And they might really question, like, ooh, should I help that person? That's kind of going to be inconvenient for me. Those guys might be cool. Let's face it, Wolverine's pretty cool. I mean, the dude's got razor blades in his fists, and he doesn't age, and he can heal from any fight. So that's a pretty cool guy. But if it came down to your family needing saving, if it came down to your family's life on the line, I think I'd rather have Superman. I think I'd rather have the guy who was going to save my family guaranteed because it was the right thing to do, not the guy who might save them if it was convenient and didn't trouble him too much. And Beowulf was that kind of hero. He was the kind of hero who did the right thing for the right reasons. And I think that's the kind of one that we all secretly want to be. It's not complex. It's not sophisticated. But it's something that we recognize as good and beautiful. Don't get yourself on fire, dog. I don't know if I'm going to be anybody's hero. But I want to try. So I'm trying to be more selfless. I'm trying to give what wisdom I've gained. I'm trying to give the lessons I'm learning from literature and from scripture and from practical applications of those things, or at least attempts at practical application. I wonder if you have some of those things burning in your heart. Maybe it's being the hero for your wife because you, as the man, sacrifice when she needs it. You give up things you want to do in order for her to be healthy, happy, and comfortable. Maybe it's for your kids, where you are, again, sacrificing something you want to do so that you can be there for them in ways that matter to them. I know the times that happened with me, with my father, are some of the most memorable and happy of my life. Or of my childhood, at least. It's been a lot of good and happy memories with my wife and my family. Maybe it's somebody at church. Maybe it's some stranger. Maybe it's that person you've been arguing with online who you really don't even like. But man, you know they need something, and you can help. I don't know. I just think we need more of those heroes. I think we need more of those people who do the right thing, who come to help others at cost to themselves, at risk to themselves, at potentially at life-saving risk to themselves, because it's the right thing to do. This is why we look up to firefighters and EMTs and other first responders, because many of them are willing to do that. So I'm going to light a fire in you a little bit and ask you to challenge yourself, because I'm trying to challenge myself. Is there something in you that's stirred by the story of heroism, of going out to risk, not waiting, not weighing the odds, just saying, that's the right thing to do, I'm going to do it? I don't know what it would be for you. It's going to be different than it is for me. It's the kind of stuff we talk about over the fire at camp. The kind of stories we like to share of the people who helped us. And we'll share more about that later. But for now, I think I just need to pray for you. That's all right with you. God, you set the example, and I pray that this little insight, this little story of Beowulf, even though he was a pagan, there are echoes of your love and your story within that story. And I know you want us to sacrifice, to give for others, to love others as we love ourselves. So for anybody out there who is maybe stirred by the Beowulf story, maybe not stirred by my words and my drawling and my ongoing rambling, but Lord, speak to them. Show them where you want them to act so they can be a hero to somebody else. That's all I got. God bless.